Good morning, everyone. It has been quite some time since I've been on video or communicated with you in this way. I wanted to say happy Lionsgates, which is part of the, I guess, if you're into astrology, kind of the divine feminine energy, we talk about these dates and we talk about these energetic shifts in a way to begin to help and teach that the things that are going on in our lives may not be some things that we are supposed to be taking personally. So between this very profound energy shift, which some people feel and some people may not feel, it depends just how energetically sensitive you are, there have been some pretty big profound changes that have happened in the course of this week. So today we have a day that's really good for manifestation. We've also entered into a Mercury retrograde cycle, and I'm making this video so that you don't feel alone. This Mercury retrograde is a huge opportunity to begin to reflect on, I would say mostly relationships, but things that have definitely been percolating over the past year or two. Is a time to kind of reflect and to revise things, but not necessarily to make decisions. And one of the things that I've been personally experiencing is a lot of shifts in my relationships and a lot of shifts in my physical body over the past couple of weeks. And when I think about the timing, I am very aware, I'm very in tune. I've gone through this initiation process where I know communication problems come up, where things don't feel right, where there's big shifts in my physical body that I now know how to handle. I know how to do it with my energy work, I know how to do it with my yoga work, I know how to do it with my meditation practice. But what's starting to happen and what it feels like in terms of a split in the collective is that you have many people who may not believe in this or may not be as energetically sensitive, responding in their relationships and their communication with other people as if the other person is kind of manifesting chaos and miscommunication problems. And that is why we do these teachings, mostly so that we can always come back to center and calm the emotional system and calm the nervous system down so we stop taking things personally. And at this point in my journey, if I had known 10% of what I know now when I was in my 20s, I would have likely manifested my marriage partner and the things that I have always wanted at a much younger age. And I think it's something important to begin to recognize and to begin to turn inward about, because it's important to begin to realize it's not really other people per se that are causing communication problems, or it's not the wrong relationship per se, or it's not the wrong job, or it's not things aren't going wrong. Things are actually starting to shift and get into alignment with what is coming for the future. And so on top of Mercury retrograde, on top of today being a Lionsgate's portal day where we get to work on manifestation, we are also closing out a 20-year cycle of an older energy that is not going with us into the future. So many of us are replaying and rehashing old stuff, or going through an energetic purging of things we no longer need in order to go into the future. And this can cause a lot of chaos in the external world if we are not conscious and we are not aware of what is really going on. So good examples of this tend to be in dating and relationships, and about half the planet, I would say, has what we call transpersonal karma. Our karma is with other people. We are here to learn through relationships. We are here to learn how to master being in interpersonal connections. And many of us have been so isolated, as part of coming out of COVID, but also as parts of initiation process where we've had to be isolated in order to learn new skills and to master our own emotions and master this energy and master how we interact with the outside world so we can always be in harmony. We're now going to start the process of coming out of that time of isolation and being able to use our skills in connection with other people. And the hardest part of this time is that the connection with other people is the connection with people who were likely on a different path, meaning they may have gotten married, they may have had children, while you went into isolation and began to work on your spiritual gifts and getting your body healthy and doing more personal development work. So the people who are on, especially the past few years, the personal development path and the yogic path and kind of the wellness path and the spiritual path will be interacting with people who have been on more of the marriage and children path, and it's going to be up to us in order to kind of help settle the collaboration and kind of pulling the world back together again. Because if you were on this other path, which is a really beautiful one as it pertains to relationships, you have not learned how to manage your empathic skills. You have not learned to manage your gift of intuition and picking up on other people's emotions. You have not learned to clear your own energy. And for many people, what is going to be happening over the course of the future is the need to do some very significant womb and heart healing of past lives and many lifetimes of pain, of abandonment, of sorrow, of anything that doesn't resonate with a higher vibration. And I think that when we start thinking about whether or not this path is for us or whether it's not for us, there really isn't necessarily a choice. It's the physical body that is going to start to tell you whether or not you're on this path. And so that's how we enter into things like yoga and Pilates and kind of the physical side of things, is the need. Our body is telling us something is out of alignment. Our body is saying she needs some self-care, he needs to rest. And we spend so much time, especially in Western culture, trying to think our way out of things, and the physical body hasn't been taken care of, so we can't actually feel our way through things. And so we have this division between the mind and the body that the wellness community has been trying to help us for a long time get back into alignment. But anytime we have these major energetic shifts, and we have an emotional reaction to that because we don't understand what's going on, and because we're purging fear. I would say the number one emotion that is being purged out of people's bodies right now is fear. And I remember being in that place for a really long time because I didn't understand what was going on with this process. And so I would constantly react to my internal emotions and anything I was picking up. And I tend to be a physical empath, so I was also reacting to other people's physical health all the time, but I didn't know, right? So part of the initiation process and part of going through this process is, if you are on this kind of more relational transpersonal karma lesson in this lifetime, other people are showing up to trigger you on purpose, so you could begin the process of moving yourself to a place of self-care, of wellness, and beginning to learn how to take care of yourself so you can be in harmony with everyone. And I think that given what's going on in the world these days, it's really hard to think about that technically we are supposed to be in harmony with everyone, and it is possible when you walk a healing path on the other side of that. We are supposed to be connected, we are supposed to be collaborating, we are supposed to have ease and abundance and manifestation, and life is supposed to be easier than we think it's supposed to be. This is the kind of programming, and this is the stuff that needs to be released from the physical body. And when you meet someone who has done that work, and I remember this happened to me on a social dance floor all the time, when I met someone who was vibrating at a higher level, it triggered something in me. And at that point, at that late older time, I was blaming that person, or I thought there was something about that person that I did not like. When you go through the entire process of reviewing, revising, reflecting during a Mercury retrograde, you will open up and begin to see that there was another story at play. And those stories begin to become easier and easier and easier to handle when the downloads come in. So if you've activated some of your higher level intuition, you will start to receive information of what the real stories really were. And so we often, as human beings, these reactions to other people, we see relationships as, oh, this person's not right for me. I need to find the right fit. I'm looking for marriage. I need to find the right fit, rather than taking a step back and saying, you know what? This person showed up in my life for a particular reason. I need to sit with it in my yoga and meditation practice and figure out what that is. And when you get to the point where you can sit in a yoga and meditation practice to sit with why things are happening and open up to that there's other things to learn, you are then on a divine feminine path of healing, and your gifts and your lineage and whatever direction you were supposed to be going in will slowly manifest and open up over time. But it's not an easy path at all. This path really requires a complete surrendering. It requires to being open to the idea that the people that you might love may come in and out right now, depending on vibrational levels. It's a really, really, really challenging time to be doing any kind of intimate connections with people who may have different religious backgrounds, may have different philosophies, may have different ways of viewing the physical body, and yet we're all going to have to come back together. So I just wanted to make this quick video because I did just teach a shamanic room yoga class, and it was very interesting to see who showed up in class. One person's upper body was definitely feeling very stiff and tight, and the other person's body was it was the lower part of the body. And so we can see that different things are showing up in physical bodies and manifesting themselves in different kinds of ways, depending on what it is that we need to work on right now at this given point in time. So I hope this video just encourages you to keep going, to surrender and let go of the things that you do not need. And I will say, you know, part of what I personally did in the past 2 weeks was do a really big deep dive into Magdalene womb healing, and to really work with my feminine energy and to do serious amounts of clearing work of relationships that I didn't even know were still energetically a problem inside my own body. They had been cleared out of my head, and the perception of the relationships and the understanding of why things happen had been cleared out of my head, but the energy was actually still stuck in my womb and my heart space. So when we talk about the feminine energy, we often, especially in the West, we're just kind of focused on our intuition and our thought processes and kind of the intellectual side of things, but there is a whole other process that happens when we start to need to clear the old stuff out of our womb and our heart space. And so by doing that work at a very higher level, things in my outside world have started to shift, and they continue to shift. So I encourage you, if you feel like you've had repetitive cycles in your relationships, if you feel like there's energy that's constantly blocking you from manifesting your life partner, or manifesting a child, or manifesting something that you really desire, it is a thing. There are energies out there that we have to learn to deal with. We often start that process of learning to deal with it in our own physical body, which is how we end up in yoga and meditation and kind of movement-based activities. But there is more to constantly keep learning, especially if you are, you know, heading into your 30s and 40s, and we've all just had a few years of kind of a reset of trying to figure out why things are working or not working in our life. And if you're energetically sensitive either to emotions or the physical body, or you just tend to be very, very open, it is really, really, really important to do energetic hygiene. It's really important to open up to the idea that energy medicine is a psychological science. It has been studied, at least in the United States. That might not be everywhere. And it is really important to be open that regardless if you're coming from the science side, regardless if you're coming from the religious side, or regardless if you're coming from the spiritual side, there is a path that all gets us to the same place. There is no right path. It's very individualized and will be based off of your own ancestral lineage and off of your kind of what your soul plan is in this lifetime. And there can be really beautiful things that begin to happen when you meet certain people, if you're more on this transpersonal side of healing, that are going to open you up to things that you've never thought you would be able to see, or things that you never thought you would be able to heal. So I encourage you right now, especially with Venus going into Virgo, for the next few weeks. Venus is planet of love and beauty and luxury. She is my ruling planet as a Taurus, so I definitely love Venus. But in Virgo, she's calling us into health, wellness, and the physical body, and our routines and discipline. And so now, if you have not been on a wellness kick for some time, or you feel like your energy has gotten pulled in multiple different directions because it's summer, we're going out and having a good time, she's going to be calling us back to ourselves and calling us back to figuring out what our wellness routines are, and to pay attention to the healing of the physical body. And the healing of the physical body is definitely a yogic path. It's definitely related to Ayurveda, and can also be related just to Western medicine, but there's also other lineages out there, and the Magdalene Rose lineage also has some interesting ways of healing the physical body, and also shamanism as known specifically for also healing the physical body. And now is a good time to begin to reset those routines so that your body is ready to do the other higher level work. That might be a higher level spiritual work or higher level work with regard to relationships. And when I reflect on my history as a psychologist and basically doing relationship work and being called a relationship expert for so long, and I laugh because I didn't know anything, when I reflect back on all of that work, the reason why clients were not getting better had nothing to do with whether or not we can actually learn communication skills. It literally comes back to energy. And it comes back to, are we responding to energy in our partner's body? Did our partner bring energy from work home and now we're responding to that? Are we responding to energy being released out of a partner's body right now spontaneously? Because that is happening a lot. We tend to just be reactive instead of being able to come to a place of harmony within ourselves, and then understanding that we are in energetic connection with our partner, and we're in energetic connection with everyone else that our partner has been in contact with. And so, I'll make another video on that, but just something to think about is that sometimes we think something is happening in the crucible of two people together, and yet the energy can very much be coming from someone's child. The energy can be coming from someone's ex-spouse. The energy can be coming from someone's work. And unless you have cultivated and mastered your own body and cultivated and mastered your own sense of this is who I am when I'm feeling completely grounded and healthy, it is impossible at this point to manage relationships at the level they need to be managed, because all we're going to be doing is reacting to energy. And when we break it down like that, then we realize that all communication problems seem really silly, and that our feelings and our emotions are not the full story. And so many relationships are being put on pause that should be a conduit for healing, because we're allowing our emotions to be the whole story, and we're allowing the emotions to create a narrative that's not really based on the kind of the data of what is really going on. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, when you go through this healing process, you will see that there is nothing but love. But it's really, really freaking hard to get there. And the way we have talked about relationships in the past, and the way that the traditional psychology has done it, has set the foundation for us to do this at a higher level, where we have to be open that we don't know everything. And many of us are going through this process of transmuting energy and, kind of getting ready for a higher level way of being in the world. And so it can be very, very challenging. If you've gone through any kind of relationship hiccups, or you've gone through a divorce where the universe has literally said, okay, this person's not going with you into the future. There's a reason for that. You're energetically not going to be in alignment. So this can't stay this way. Everyone needs to go do their work. And yet you're trying to, in the real world, parent a child together. And one person is kind of going here and the other person is kind of stagnating. So it's just a challenging time. And so that was the reason why I wanted to make the video after this course, or in this class that I taught, because everyone is being asked to work on something. It might be very different, but we really are all in this together. And today is a day where if you haven't been meditating and doing your practices, today is the day to bring them back and to come back to yourself and to begin to think about and align with what it is that you want in the future, and to be open to letting go and clearing out everything that is blocking that particular path from happening. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I hope that today's energy allows you some time and space to begin to focus on what you do want, and that the chatter of the things that you do not want are be able to subside, so that you can begin to create and give birth to the life that you are really desiring, and that hopefully will come into fruition as we enter 2025. So thank you so much for listening, and I'm hoping to be more visible and available from this point forward.